Agnes Deaton once said, international cooperation is vital to keeping our globe safe, commerce flowing, and our planet habitable. Keep this in mind as we discuss today the recent summit of the BRICS and what does it mean for the future of the global economy. My name is Dr. David Walaloo.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict.
Our top focus at this hour. This year, Beijing is hosting the meeting of BRICS emerging economies.
For a new era of global development.
What are we expecting here from this BRICS Summit?
Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa recently met in China. And it's the BRICS Summit. And basically what they were talking about is more and more cooperation. And the leadership in BRICS couldn't be more clear about inclusion and welcoming new members. And you talk about, they already control 40% of the world population and 25% of the global economy. These guys are in a position to make a real impact.
Well, indeed, yeah, for the large, the population, the percentage, because that's a consuming market. But the point for the BRICS, at least why we wanted to talk about it, is because of the possible impact on the global economy they could have or they could play. BRICS has been for quite a while. And when I get to the whiteboard, I'm going to break it down for you to have truly an understanding of this is not about just economics. This is about geopolitics also.
Oh, yeah.
And given now that many, I will use the term many, countries have expressed interest from, for example, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Mexico, Turkey, to Egypt, Iran, Sudan, Syria, Pakistan, those are, yes, they might not hold major economies on the global stage, but they are emerging.
Yes.
They are large markets, and the BRICS can play a role into influencing the direction of the global economy. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. All right, as we mentioned earlier, I'm going to provide you a breakdown of what BRICS is all about and what to expect moving forward. I was very shocked and surprised as to the little coverage that was done in the West. Actually, it was none, basically. I happen to know about it because I keep up with those kind of events. Anyway, let's move forward and talk about what the BRICS, what do we mean by BRICS? Well, usually it started back in 2006. That's started on the sideline of the UN General Assembly. Okay, the foreign ministers of Brazil, Russia, India, and China started the conversation. But in 2009, or 2010, it was officially launched as official meeting for them. So 2010 was the first meeting that was held in Russia. China has held 3 summits, including this recent one. One in 2011, one in 2017, and the current one. So back to 2006, as I said, that's when they started conversation. In 2010, they established the 4. South Africa joined the BRICS in December of 2010. They became official members, and that's why the name BRICS came from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But I'm not going to be talking too much about the history. I'm going to be talking about the impact of BRICS that they could have both geopolitically and economically on the global stage. So let's start with geopolitics first. So the idea of geopolitically, we're going to go back to 1991. What happened in 1991? It was the disintegration of the Soviet Union. So that means in 1992, the US was the sole power with about 1/5 of the global GDP. Global domestic product, of global GDP, that is, 1/5. At that time, the new Federation of Russia had about 3%, okay, that was back in 1992, and China had about 5%. That was it. So why? It's because the whole world at the time was unipolar under the United States. This is politically or geopolitically speaking. So fast forward to, let's say, about 2008. What happened in 2008? GFC, global financial crisis. No. And that's basically a global market was hit with that, except that the BRICS at that time started to show some sort of an increase in their output, which was interesting enough that because you look at the emerging markets in those countries, the output is going to start to increase. What exactly? That's what happened at 2008, from 2008 forward. So what we started to see at the time, it was that the idea of geopolitically that now the BRICS start to be sort of felt on the global stage, but not to the way like the EU, for example, or ASEAN, for example. Well, it's because the BRICS countries didn't move forward as they ought to be. However, from 2011 forward, you start to look at the BRICS economically. Why? Because among these countries, they comprise of 40%. As a matter of fact, some stats says 41% of the global population. And it has about 30% of the output of the global GDP, which is substantial. So you start to, because at the same time, while all this is happening, US share of the global output was declining. And this is why you started to see the emergence. As a matter of fact, the IMF now is predicting that by 2050, okay, the output of the BRICS will be about 50% of the global GDP. That is a major outcome. And this is why BRICS can be a force geopolitically and economically if they play their card right. And to the point now, what you are seeing is that there are many countries are expressing interest in joining BRICS, from Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Mexico, Bangladesh, Nigeria. All of a sudden, you start to see the growth of the BRICS, because now, and this is my personal opinion, I believe BRICS now is moving into the second phase of its existence. Because remember, in 2011, it was the conversation about the establishment of a development bank at that time, which was initiated by China at that time. So, interesting enough, and I read some clauses within the statements signed by all the members, is that it's going to be on an equal footing. Yes, there will be countries who will put in more money than others, like, for example, China started with $44 billion. South Africa put in 5. I think India put in about $18 billion, that is. So each one of them put whatever the capabilities that they were able to. However, there was an understanding that no one country will dictate the term. Basically, the decision will be made collectively. That is what's the idea of all this. And this is why, the way I see it moving forward, like I always say, you always have to look out for the trends. So the way I see it playing out moving forward, given the current conditions, the global economy, the global security, the global geopolitical landscape, and the turmoil that exists, BRICS could play a major role in helping the world deal with the economic crisis. Because here's the thing. You got two countries within the BRICS, India and China. Those two countries, okay, just between the two of them, they import about 50% of Russia seaborne oil exports. Just between those two countries. And this is why I said a couple times ago that Russia now is not going to be worrying about these Western sanctions. Why? Because the markets in India and China will be enough to make the difference that the energy Russia used to send to Europe. Those are large markets. As a matter of fact, India now, and given what's going on, it's cutting a deal now with Russia that all its business transactions will be conducted in rupees. So this is another dimension that we have to consider about the BRICS. Beside geopolitics, beside economics, you're going to have to think about the financial market or financial aspects. What they all have in common, that with China's BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, with India, purchase of Russian oil. Now South Africa just declared recently that they will be considering importing Russian oil for good. Brazil, it's a big market, especially for China. And speaking of China and Brazil, there is some information suggesting, and I am to check on that information, that China is building a military installation in Brazil. And if it is, it's a major event. Why? That will be the first time China's building a military installation in a Western hemisphere. And that's going to change the calculus for everybody. I am sure the US will be very concerned about that one. But let's focus on the financial aspect. So the way I see it playing out is that the BRICS is going to figure out, now that they have the developing bank, with the capital, I believe, over $100 billion or so. There's the possibility that they're going to now be lending money to other countries. Basically, what it will be is another challenge to the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. Because those are the main two institutions that lend money to countries. Now you have the developing bank of the BRICS that will be able to do that. Because what we need to consider and what the West needs to understand, and I am sure they do, except they will not admit it, is that you will be looking at an output from the BRICS that can reach about the equivalency of about $19.6 trillion. And this is why I'm saying you cannot ignore something like this, with the assumption that for the BRICS, if they play their cards right, because we are not naive to think that everything is working smoothly here. No. You got two main countries here, China and India. If they don't work out their differences regarding the border, BRICS won't move forward. Because if those tensions persist, the BRICS will be unable to move as a cohesive team. But if they do, as we always say, sky is the limit. Because the way I see it, with the assumption that all of them works out their differences, I feel comfortable saying that the BRICS will be able to challenge the EU. Will it challenge ASEAN? Yes, it could if it wants, but it won't. The reason being because ASEAN is working closely with India, China, and China, that is. Because to them, to ASEAN, China is a big market. This is why they are staying neutral about what's going on right now regarding the Ukraine crisis. So once again, for the BRICS to succeed, they have to play their cards right, given now that there is this global shift in the global order, and they could play a major role in helping shape the direction of what that is. And this is something we're going to be offering in our course about the trends as to what lies ahead, and we're going to teach you how to do that. That's basically what it's going to be. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about the BRICS, just for you to have an understanding of what the BRICS is all about to begin with, because it's not getting enough coverage here in the West.
As you so clearly stated on the whiteboard, the United States would do well to pay attention to what's going on here. These guys could be a major world player in the global economy and geopolitics. So if we're going to benefit, that is at the gas pump, at the grocery store, and so on, the United States needs to be paying attention and work cooperatively with BRICS.
Yeah. Well, indeed, because as we said earlier, when we explained on the whiteboard, how much impact the BRICS is going to have on two trajectories, the economic and geopolitics. It would behoove the West to start to think about, could it be better if we cooperate and we move our planet in one direction instead of butting heads? And because you can benefit from it, we will benefit from it. Other people in Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in Turkey, whatever, the whole world can benefit from it.
Yes.
Why? Because it's going to create more cooperation, which will benefit everybody, basically.
Exactly right.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in the next video. As always, guys, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.